watching the Battered Fans Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 33 of the Battered MLS Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, I got two other Battered MLS fans. As you can see, they're already laughing, having a good time. Let me start from my left to your right, or actually my right to your left. Tommy, one time, what's going on, man? How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good. It's almost February 22nd. Well, that's when we start. Do you guys start early again this year?
The 18th. Well,
Yeah,
just
19th.
because CONCACAF Champions Cup, which you guys do not. So, yeah.
We're VIP, baby.
I guess
What's
so.
going on, Chris?
Well, back at it like a crack addict, but we're not going to talk hair-ons. We're going to talk MLS, nothing but MLS. So let's get it popping.
And before we continue, just real quick, Battered MLS fans, we have MLS shirts. Now, we got all the Believe shirts. It's Miami. We got Atlanta United. We have just about every MLS team, MLS themed, out on the store. So if you're interested, go ahead, batterfans.com. All MLS shirts. I mean, the Believe ones are the ones we're pushing right now, but we have a little bit of everything. We got a new Joseph one for Atlanta up there also. So, all right. Now, the reason we're here today, everybody's talking. Cucho has now left the building. Cucho is now headed to La Liga Real Betis, and Columbus is falling. And I saw some people criticizing that this has become a selling league. Now, I think it was already a selling league, but it's now selling its major players, and some people are criticizing that. I think that it's not that big a deal. I think that it's a good thing. My thing has always been, I think that the MLS should be a bridge for South America to Europe. And I think once we get there, the MLS will take a step up. And in general, most leagues are that way. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts, Chris and Tommy, and I'll start with Tommy because I know you have some thoughts on the Cucho thing.
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, just looking at like Atlanta-wise, I mean, look at Miguel Almiron, right? They bring him in for a season, and then he immediately gets sold to Newcastle for a record transfer. And that's the concept that they wanted to keep doing, right? And then they ended up doing it with Thiago Almada, right? And maybe it wasn't the big jump that he wanted, right? Go straight to the Premier League. But you have a guy like Cucho, right? And we talk about the faces of the league right now. And it's Messi, right? Messi's the face of the league here.
Yes.
But he's going to be gone here. And I know you're going to replace him with another big star at some point. But you need faces of the league. You need guys that breathe, live the league. Joseph Martinez was a great example of that. Now, he had a huge injury that obviously changed things, right? And he's been around. He's been jumping around Miami, Montreal, San Jose. But, like, that's a guy that lives and breathes MLS, right? He said Atlanta was his Barcelona. And those are the guys here, right, that you want to keep pushing in the league, the face of the league. When MLS starts every Saturday, you see the video of all the players in the league, right? And Cucho was one of them. Joseph wasn't, big when the Apple deal came along, but who else was in there, right?
Well,
Messi's on there.
It was three always. It was Cucho, Acosta. Thank you. Cucho, Acosta, and Messi. I feel like those were the three faces of the league last year.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the reason why I'm upset about Cucho is I've always, I've been on here before. I've always said, like, he reminds me of Joseph Martinez, right? He lives and breathes Columbus, right? A lot of swag. They both had swag when they played at their prime. And Cucho's still, playing fantastic, but he's obviously gone now. But like he has said, right, that he wanted to remain in Columbus. Now, we've heard stories and we've talked to people around Columbus that have said like he wanted to stay, right? But obviously he wanted a pay increase and he deserved a pay increase. He wanted to be the captain of this team at some point. So to see him leave, a guy like that who is the face of the league and that will continue to be the face of the league if you held on to him and signed him to a 3-4 year extension, which obviously the guy deserves, right? With a bump. Those are the guys that I hate seeing leaving here. Now, you get the young guys that come in that are going to want to obviously use this as a stepping stone, right? And like I gave you a few examples of Atlanta, but Cucho here wanted to keep his prime here. But because they didn't pay him, right, he's like, fine, I'll leave. And now he's gone.
I think it has a lot to do with the Colombian national team also. Colombia was one of the few teams in Copa America that didn't have any MLS players on their roster. And because it's the perception of this league, unfortunately, and until we take a step up as a league, a lot of times the national teams are looking for players that are playing in Europe. And I think that might have had a lot to do with it also, because Cucho knows he got called up for the national team in the last couple games. He didn't get any playing time, but he has a better chance of consistently being called up and getting minutes now that he's playing out in La Liga. So I think that had a lot to do with it also.
But did it, like, if they came to him with a contract extension that was a bump that he deserves to be because do you think Cucho's a top 3 player in this league?
Absolutely.
Do you think he's a top 2 player in this league?
I thought he was the runner-up for MVP. I think he officially was, but that's why I always thought if Messi doesn't win it, it has to be Cucho.
100%. And we fought about this all season, right? Because it was, Messi hadn't been playing, the full season. Right. Cucho did, was still having a great season there. I think if there's certain guys there, which obviously, like, being a selling league is fantastic, right? Because the whole thing about being, a retirement league, like, I just hate that, right? And you've got certain teams that are trying to do that, right? They're trying to sell, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? And, like, everyone's got their own, way of running their team. Miami's got their own, and other teams are going to sell. It's just how it is. So I don't criticize either way that you do it. Obviously, the results have to be there, right? You could criticize the results of it.
Right.
But when you got a guy that is saying that he's living, breathing Columbus, and, I understand Colombia wants him to not be in MLS. If you pay the guy, he's going to be happy. And if you pay the guy, he is going to continue to be one of the faces of the league. And they've won Leagues Cup. They've won MLS Cup, right? So the guy's done everything. Like, I think you saw the picture that went Joseph Martinez,
where he was standing over the trophies. Yes,
right. Like, that's Cucho, right? Like, he's won all these trophies here. So to keep him here, I think to get rid of him out of MLS, I think it's going to hurt the league long term.
Chris, and just real quick, F the Galaxy said Cucho, he didn't get the chance to play for LAFC. I don't think that's the case at all. And surprisingly, he would come out and say he enjoyed Columbus, which is surprising. Chris,
very surprising.
Not to throw shade at Columbus, but you figure somebody that's a big name who'd want to be in a big market. Chris, what do you think about this whole selling league thing?
Well, I mean, the whole selling, I think it's a better stigma to have that than the retirement league.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the worst images that you want to have, especially when you're trying to grow the sport in the United States, trying to grow the brand. This Cucho deal, I mean, it's great in terms of, we're having talent here and we're selling it off to other clubs and stuff. But I mean, it's like the Jean Duran, right? Like, we saw him when he played for Chicago and he started doing pretty well with them. Then he goes, I think he went to Aston Villa.
Yep.
It went for money.
Balled
out there. And then now he's going to Al Nazir, for like 77 million euros or whatever. Like, that's huge. That's colossal money. And that's for a young player that if he would have stayed in the MLS, I mean, who knows how he would have panned out. Obviously, he doesn't have the same quality players around him, but like, the potential could have been there that he could have been the face of, the MLS in 5-6 years.
And the sell-on clause, because we're selling league and there's a sell-on clause for a lot of these, and I think it was 15% that Chicago made off of that sale from Aston Villa to Al Nazir, or is it Al Nazir that he went to? So with that sell-on clause that got used so quickly within 2 years, it is now the highest transfer that any MLS team's ever had, which is wild. But I mean, that's how you continue to boast your roster, even though I don't know what the Chicago's doing. They got Bamba or Bambi or whatever the hell. I'll talk about that in a sec. But I think that the perception of it being a selling league isn't a bad one, because I think that's what you want to be if you're at the top league. I think the issue is we're trying to get the casual fan to become MLS fans.
Yes.
But the casual American sports fan is accustomed to every American sports league being the destination, right? The Japanese players in baseball want to come to the MLB. In football, obviously the NFL. In the NBA, all the Eurostars, Luka and Jokic and all of them, Giannis, they can dominate in those leagues, but the goal is to end up in the NBA. And it's weird for people that are now starting to watch the MLS. And I'll throw it to Chris also for this, because Chris is relatively new to the MLS, right? You started watching it about 4 or 5 years ago, 3, 4 years
Yeah.
ago. So it's new to the American sports fan to be watching a league that isn't considered one, not the top, and
Yeah.
nowhere near the top, really. So the fact that nobody really considers it the top, and the fact that players are wanting to leave to others, I think is where people are giving it that negative. Oh, it's a selling league. It's a selling league, but every league in the world is a selling league. Really, if you're not in the English Premier League, La Liga maybe not, but for the most part, the bottom half of that league sells their players also. So I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing. I think most leagues are that way, and I think that if we're selling our players, I think that just means that we're improving as a league.
Well, I mean, you don't see players like wanting to land their prime in like the Argentine league or the Brazilian league, right? And those leagues are seen, they're seen as like respectable leagues, but then at the same time, players have used those leagues and teams to climb up to the EPL, to like La Liga, or to, you know, Ligue 1 or whatever. But so it's like it's not bad to be a league that sells their players or to be seen as a selling league. I mean, it just so happens that we've been lucky enough, we're getting players that are sort of, you know, getting better here, and then we can be able to ship them out, and it helps out the roster stuff with us, especially since we're so limited with cap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tommy, do you agree that basically the whole world is a selling league outside of maybe the English Premier League?
100%. Like there's nothing wrong with it, right? And I think what it just stings with American fans is the ones that want to stay here, right?
Yes.
And then you've got the owners that just aren't going to pony up the cash to pay them what they're worth. I think that's frustrating, right? Because, I mean, you see a Lucho, right? Lucho Costa wants out, right?
Yes.
I mean, he wants out. So then it's like, okay, that one doesn't sting as much. But when you got a guy, you know, an hour north that's saying all the right things about wanting to stay, right? Now, again, I know there's the whole Colombian thing here, but you've seen Columbus people. I know we're in chats with other, you know, Columbus people, and they're telling us, right, that, you know, he's saying the right things to the fans. Now, who knows what they are behind doors, right? Saying, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah.
But that owner for the Crew, he's going through a lot of stuff right now with his NFL team, with the Browns wanting him out, and then the same day them shipping him out. That's what stings the fans more, right? Like, imagine, you know, I mean, Joseph Martinez, the same thing. Like, all of a sudden, him saying this is Barcelona, and then behind doors, he's saying, I want out, right? Then it's mixed signals. But Lucho is saying, I want out. I want out.
He's
so it's like, okay,
clear.
fine. You're right. Get him out of here then. That's what it is. But when the guys that want to stay, you got to start figuring out how to keep those players here to, again, help build the league and help continue to have those guys that say, you know what, there's guys that are more than fine, you know, whether it's in LA, like in Columbus is impressive too, because you brought it up, like it's not a big city, right? Like look at the NHL. They have a very hard time bringing any free agents into the Columbus Blue Jackets because it's a cold city, right? There's not a lot going on down there, but you got a guy that has taken that city, right? Saved the Crew. You bring this guy, and he's your biggest transfer ever, and he loves it. He's bringing you titles, and then you just don't pay the guy, right? And I just, like I said, I don't believe that. I don't believe that if they gave him the money, he'd be like, no, I want to go there so I can play for Columbia more. I just don't believe that would be the case.
But, you know, it's a weird situation to be in, because I think that you're right about that take, because when you have a player that actually appreciates and wants to play for that team and organization, like they want to be there, like Cucho, right? During the time he was there, like you could see it. But then maybe because of the restraints in the league in terms of like getting good players around him to be consistently at the top, maybe that's something that he kind of ponders. He thinks, well, I mean, the same flexibility, different flexibility is going to be in another league. I'm not going to be restrained to playing with two other pretty good guys, and then the rest are just decent.
But he had a good roster, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I mean, at some point, those guys are,
too.
At some point, those guys are going to want to make bigger money, and so they're not gonna stick around for too long.
Well, I do want to talk about Columbus a little further in a second, but one thing I did want to bring up about this whole selling league. I think being a selling league and having our players bought by teams in La Liga and in the English Premier League, I think that's a positive. I think it looks good on us. One thing I do not like is when a player comes from South America and then goes back to South America. I'm sorry. I think that does not look good. If we're a selling league and we're selling to the biggest clubs or the biggest leagues in Europe, that's great. If you are going and you are, who am I thinking? I'm blanking right now. Oh, Drusi, that left River Plate to come to the MLS, and then he ended up back in River Plate. That's not a good look. If you have Almada, and everybody thought Almada is going to Europe for sure, and he ends up in Brazil in Botafogo. Yeah, I know he's doing well there, but as far as a league goes, I think that is not the look you want. If we want to grow as a league, we need to be selling it to the biggest clubs in the in Europe, and the fact that they're going, and some of them are even going to Mexico. I remember when Brandon Vasquez ended up in Monterrey. I was like, that's not what you want. You want him to end up in Europe, not in Liga MX. So I think that is the one negative to the whole selling league thing, is that we haven't consistently sold to the big leagues in Europe. We're spreading them out to Liga MX, sending them back to South America, and I don't think that's what we want to be doing, because I think that is a negative.
Right, like Almada was the biggest transfer ever, I think, at that point when he got sold to Newcastle. I mean, and that's what you want to see, right? I mean, he was only in MLS for a short period of time,
2
right?
years?
2 years, yeah. And then, you know, he wins the championship and he's on his way, but like that's the dream, right? And Tata Martino sold him that dream, right? Because he wouldn't have came to MLS if it wasn't for Tata Martino. Tata Martino told him, "Come here and I'll get you to the Premier League." And that's the dream scenario, right? The coach sells you the dream and it works. Now, it hasn't always worked out. Like Pity Martinez was another one, right? South American Player of the Year, comes to Atlanta. Right. And he wanted to go to the Premier League, exact same thing. And, you know, that did not work out for a few reasons. And yeah, I mean, that's disappointing.
Chris, what do you think about the players when they go here and then they end up leaving for
Almiron? Sorry, Omar. Almiron went to Newcastle.
Yeah, I think we once you started talking about that we kind of caught on to, you were talking about Almiron.
Yeah,
Chris, Liga MX South America, do you think it's a big deal? Because some people might not think it's a big deal, especially if you're selling them for more than you bought them for. But I think as an overall perception of the league, I think if we want to move up in what we want to be as far as a top league in the world, I think that is a negative. And
well, I think
saying profit is profit to American orders. I agree.
Yes.
But I'm just talking about the perception of the league in general.
Well, I think one of the bigger problems is you don't want to sell directly to your competition, right? Like when you make a trade, like in basketball or football, you don't want to trade within your division, because if you know you're going to trade a good player, then you might be seeing that player more often than not. It kind of is the same with Liga MX, because Liga MX is like the direct competition to the MLS. So here we are trying to sort of face off against Liga MX. It's not a good look to be giving players that are kind of getting into their better stride for Liga MX to profit off of. And we're talking about a league that
when one of them is producing so well at the MLS, they go to Liga MX like Brandon Vasquez did, doesn't do much, and then ends up back in the MLS.
Yes, because then it looks like, oh, well, we're so much more of a premier league that it's harder for them to be better in our league. It's like, nah, the circumstances could be a way different. There's so many variables.
How many people are upset though that like I mean, obviously, you know, like the internet, Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, it's all just people complaining about everything, right? I got in a fight with the Pro Rel group last week. Go ahead.
I'll tell you, I have one question for you. I hear about Reddit all the time. I don't know what Reddit is. I don't know where it exists. I don't know who uses it.
I've gone on it before. It's terrible.
Is that an app? What is it? Because I hear that so much, Reddit, and I have no idea where it is, how to access it. But apparently it's like a Twitter, because apparently everybody talks on it.
Well, it's like a website that now they have an app. It's like a message boardy website. That's what it is. It's a message boardy website.
Yeah, that's a good way of doing it. And like it has everything on there, right?
You could
like,
literally look up
everything.
anything.
But why not Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it? Like, why
It's
are there
more
so many
focused. Like
places?
it's focused. Like if you join like an Atlanta United type thing or a Miami, you're going into that specific group, and all you're seeing is Miami stuff, right?
So like a
We need
Discord.
one. We need one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess.
It's
I mean,
not a
it's like that.
Discord.
It's focused, but I mean, you just have a post, and then just people go on. It's just like like Chris said, it's just like a message board, right? They have a topic,
Yes.
you go in and you message on it. But man, some
Sorry
of
to
the
throw
worst
you off.
people are on some of the worst people are on it, right?
That's the thing. Whenever I hear about it, I hear horrible things.
Oh yeah, I mean it's just the scum of the earth on there. If you're on Reddit, I'm sorry, but like there's some people that are cool on it, and there's just some people that are complete. Like it's just ridiculous takes, and also Facebook posts are terrible too. But like, who's complaining about this, right? Because
Yeah.
one, like years ago, it's a retirement league, and like it's all the European people, the Euro snobs, right? Oh, MLS sucks, like. Right, like we just brought Latte Lath in, right, for a record transfer. Oh, he's just given up on his career, right? He's going to MLS, and it's like, shut the fuck up, all right? Like that's it,
Yeah.
right, like that's what people are saying there, and like, and then you bring in Messi, and it's like, oh, here comes the retirement league. Here comes Messi with this cane and his wheelchair. Like nobody's ever happy on the internet ever.
No, ever.
So when I saw that you wanted to talk about this, it was like. Did somebody like because I know you probably see it, right? It's like, well, everybody was complaining about Messi and Suarez coming here, right? Now it's the complete opposite of it, and then you got the pro rel people that have no idea what to complain about, right? Hashtag pro rel on every goddamn post that they do. Sorry, they went after me like a week ago, and like I dreamt about them like coming to my house and burning it down. But like it's just like nobody can be happy about MLS. No one. Like here,
No.
and it's
illegal.
even it's wild to me, like how much, like especially like people that are not in America absolutely despise the league, and then you got the people that just like my best friend was telling me about at like water cooler talk. People are like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I went to the Columbus Crew game. Oh, you watch that shit? Like you should stay home and watch the Premier League. It's just like nobody can be happy about anything. I hate 2025. I hate 2024. I hate the internet.
I will tell you.
That sucks.
I will tell you, if this league were to get the talent of an English Premier League, and all of a sudden, talent-wise, be considered one of the best in the world, people would still get on here and complain about Pro Rel. Like they will find reasons to hate on it because, like you said, nobody could ever be fully happy, and it's impossible. So
It's like the U.S. Open Cup. Everybody complained about it because everybody's like, everybody needs to play. And listen, there's going to be like a total of like 100 people out in the game. You know, what is this? Miami United versus Inter Miami. And I mean, it's going to be a disaster, U.S. Open Cup. We'll see.
Yeah. You want to say something, Tommy?
Oh, I'm just reading the comments. They're hilarious.
How
How do you know he's so expensive? Let the guy play one game. Let him play a season, and then tell me if he scores 2 goals. Then I'll come on here and say you overpaid. Man, I'm like a gremlin. You get me on a podcast after 10 o'clock, and I eat, or you put water on me. I'm just angry. I haven't taken any gummies. That's probably my problem today.
I wanted to get into Columbus and the Galaxy, but before we do, let's talk Atlanta just a second.
Oh no! Well, I'm glad I'm at least on here to defend myself because you guys last time I come in to say hi to friends on the last one, and you guys just start trashing. Thank you for sending the link so I could come back and yell. I had to put a shirt and pants on for it.
The pants were probably unnecessary, but thank you for the shirt.
I didn't put pants on. I just wanted to say that.
Okay. All right. So Atlanta. I guess we could talk in general terms. I feel like the Eastern Conference in general has taken a step down a lot of the teams. Columbus has obviously lost big players. Cincinnati's probably going to lose Lucho Acosta is the rumor. Orlando lost Facundo Torres. So I feel like the top teams have all taken a step down. I think Charlotte might improve. They gained Zaha, and then they still have the best defense in the league. So Atlanta, 9th seed. They became the 9th seed. On decision day, they were the 10th or 11th going into
3%
that day.
chance, 4% chance of making the playoffs.
Right. So obviously they had a rough season, but they still made it, and they made the most out of it by eliminating the best team in the league last year. In the offseason, you guys added Almiron, which we're not sure what he's going to look like anymore. And we had Latila, which I saw a video of him walking into the Mercedes-Benz, which I was talking to Chris earlier about it. I thought it was awesome video because the look on his face and how excited he looks. I don't know if he's gonna pan out, but you could tell he's excited to play his ass off because he's really excited about just what it looks like the atmosphere is gonna be like in that stadium. And if I were you, I would have been really excited just seeing that video.
And I mean, the video
Miranchuk was the same way too. Miranchuk, they had the same video last year for him when he came in.
Yeah.
And the video with the video of Almiron with Chris Henderson grabbing his iPhone, like, you know, we closed the deal, and then it's like so epic. It was amazing. It
Make the call.
I thought that was a little overrated, but it
was amazing. You're a terrible Danny.
Anyway,
that fired me up.
How are you feeling about Atlanta in the East? Because the East, I feel like, is a little weaker.
Yeah, and they brought in.
And also, I know you don't care about how much they paid for Latilat, but I feel like that number puts more pressure on him.
Oh, 100. 1,000%.
It's on his shoulder, so he has to ball out because everybody knows the price and everybody's criticizing the price. So I feel like that's going to put more pressure on him.
Well, yeah, we just had Kalen Carr on our show earlier today, and we were talking to him about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, but we're talking about like what's the expectation, and like even 15 goals is not enough for what they brought him in for, right? Obviously, it takes a while for players." Plus. Yeah, exactly. And that's what we said. It should be 20 goals there. And especially with what you brought around him, right? The other move that they brought in Click from DC United. And he was a DP player for them.
They got him for how much? It wasn't a DP contract.
No, he's not even a TAM player either, from my understanding. So, I mean, it feels like they ripped DC United off there. Like, DC United fans were very upset about that move there. So, you really brought in 3 DP players in this window. And they're still looking to make a few moves there, but you got a new coach, right? And it's going to be interesting to see what this team can do, and especially with, like you said, the East has weakened here. Now, you know the crew's just not going to sit around and not replace these guys, but there's no way they're going to be ready in 2 weeks, right?
Well, I haven't heard about them bringing anybody on.
No, there's been no rumors. I mean, their fans are, as they should be, right? They're freaking out. When you're at the top, when you're at the top and you're expecting to win, and their fans expect to win, that place is filled every Saturday, right? I mean, that place sells out. To go from that to exactly what like Atlanta United did, right? Like, I mean, they went from the top to the bottom, barely making the playoffs every season. Like, it's if they don't get this right, I mean, the crew fans are gonna flip out, and they already are.
Omar, I said, is there more pressure coming here, or if he would have gone to the Premier League? I think here, just because in the Premier League, I think it would have been a more 22 million wouldn't have been as big a deal. 2, he would have been playing for a team of who knows where, and I don't think so many people would have been paying attention to him. Here in the MLS, he was one of the biggest signings in this transfer window. And everybody, and Chris, you're on mute, and everybody's paying attention to him. People that aren't Atlanta fans have heard about it, and they're paying attention. Like, oh, I wonder if this kid's gonna pan out. I think they overpaid. So I think that I understand why the Premier League is bigger and why you're saying that, Omar. But I do think that this might be a little more pressure just because of the amount of eyes in the league that
all
are
eyes on him.
Right, and he might not even have a guaranteed starting spot going to the Premier League, right? I mean, he might be sharing. Right, he might be sharing that spot with someone else and have to earn it. Here, he's coming in to be the starter, obviously, right? He's going to be the face of it. And he's got a great supporting cast around him, right? Miranchuk, Saba, Almiron. Like, should be a top, I mean, I said top 5. Everyone else I was on the podcast with earlier said top 3 offense. But that's how much money they've thrown into this offense. So, absolutely.
Top 3 offense?
I said 5.
Miami, I still think it'll be up top. The 100%. Galaxy, and we can get into the Galaxy, but the Galaxy, they lost Pooch, but they just got Christian Ramirez to add with Pencil and Peck.
I think it could be top 3 in the East. I think in the East it could be top 3. I think maybe top 6 in the league. But I think like in the top
5, Chris. It's got to be top 5 with the money they've thrown in with Miranchuk, Almiron, all these guys. I mean, I think they're going to have 4 max TAM players. I think they've got 3 right now, and they still have the ability to bring one more. And like the way that they handled the cap over the last year, I mean, they basically tanked their last half of the season to gather this money to be able to make these moves, right? So like they're using the salary cap to like the max here, right here. So this should be one of the best lineups. Now, again, injuries, all of that happened, but they're leaving room to be able to make some big moves in the summer as well, which is exactly what you want. Like if you spend it all in the winter and you leave no room for maneuverability, that's not good, right? One injury could really screw things up here. But they're doing what the Seattle does. They're leaving room for some big players to be able to make those moves in the summer to make sure that you continue to hopefully be at the top of the table. But yeah, anything beyond top 5 offense, I think is a disappointment for this team.
The top offenses in the league last year were Miami, Columbus. Columbus is probably going to fall off. The
100%.
Galaxy, Real Salt Lake. They don't have
Joseph loves life out there right now.
Oh my God, I'm blanking on the Colombian's
Oh,
name.
Real Salt Lake. Yeah, you're talking about. He went over to San Jose. San Jose, I think, is going to make a huge jump up.
I just blanked on his name. All right, but and then LAFC. So yeah, I mean, top 5.
Arango,
There you go, Chicho Arango. Thank you, Chicho Arango. So yeah, I mean, I guess top 5, I guess, isn't necessarily out of this realm of possibility, but look, Latilla is going to have a lot on him. So I talk about the East again. I think Columbus is going to fall off a bit. Cincinnati's going to fall off a bit. Orlando came on. Facundo Torres. I think that was the most underrated loss of any team because a lot of people aren't talking about it. But I think that Orlando's going to suffer a lot, especially in the attack.
Big time creator.
Now Charlotte,
Cincinnati. You haven't talked about Cincinnati yet either. Like they finished 3, right?
Yeah, but look, I still think that Acosta's going to leave.
Oh yeah.
So, and how many games have they won without Acosta over the last couple of years? Like, it was a stat that was wild. They hadn't won a game up until last year in the League's Cup. They won 1 finally without him. So Cincinnati, maybe they won't nosedive, but they're not going to be as good as they were. Orlando, we said Facundo.
Them and New England are basically going to swap spots because of Campana.
Tommy, what do you think about New England? Because I think Campana will be good in New England. Especially if Langoni is Langoni will be there, but Carlos Gil supposedly there were rumors that he might leave. If he stays there, I think those 3 in the attack are going to be great. I don't know if all of a sudden they bolster to the top 4 in the East, but I think New England will be okay.
I mean, they had the worst defense, right? I think in their 74 goals allowed.
They did, yeah. They were awful.
Yeah, they were the worst. They were the worst in the East. So cool, the offense is great, but you still got to stop goals.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's a worry. Like, I don't know. I mean, they were the second worst in the East. How much is that going to make them jump there? I mean, I don't pay attention enough to New England to know what they've done defensively in this window. But, I mean, that's something that they definitely have to clean up ASAP.
Well, I think that it's definitely going to help them to be able to at least raise in the rankings. So,
I mean, they had the worst. They had the worst. They had the least amount of goals at 37, and then they had 74 goals allowed. So I think that was worst in both stats.
And they still didn't win the wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty freaking tough. That's terrible.
It's impressive that they didn't finish at the bottom, though.
Yeah. Nowhere to go but up there, Danny.
Well, that's true. And Lucho's asking who their coach now is. Caleb Porter, I believe, is now the new coach there in New England. And
good luck.
I mean, he has a good track record, I guess, as far as gets. And then Omar says Caleb Porter gets fired by May, maybe. And then just to round out the East, Charlotte, I think, is going to improve. Look, give me a good defense, a good goalkeeper, and then improve your attack with a player. Audrey is still there. I think that's going to be good. NYCFC lost James Sand, but NYCFC with their home field advantage is always dangerous. The Red Bulls signed that DP, Chupo something. I don't remember. I just remember everybody said that they overpaid for him, just like they say in Atlanta overpaid for Latilla. So we'll see. But if the Red Bulls are adding to their attack, and Forsberg can be healthy all season, I'm sure they could be fine. But I think that the East has weakened. So, I think it's going to be interesting. But I think that there's going to be a big disparity between the top 3 or 4 teams and the rest.
Yeah. And I mean, this league's always changing, right? I mean, nobody thought that Ohio was just gonna all of a sudden tank and all your stars are leaving, right? Hell is real is these teams and their mental health in the past couple of weeks, right? I think I saw a picture of Lucho like practicing by himself in his, or not practicing, working out in his like apartment or wherever it is. Like he's not even playing with the team. Like he's just waiting to get out.
Oh, Lucho Acosta, yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. So I mean, he's out there, and the crew. Would they move Ramirez as well? Didn't they just move him?
Yep.
I mean,
to the Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, you went from feeling great. You got those cool goosebump kits coming out there with the slime, and you're pumped for the season. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was like the same thing with Almiron. Like it's just, you look at Tom Bogart and you look at it and say, like, is it Boogart? Like, is somebody just like trolling me with the fake account? Right? I mean, the same thing with the Luka trade the other night, right? I was on like 4 gummies at that time, and I'm awake, and I'm just looking at it, and I'm like clicking it, like to look at the account. I'm like, all right, they have 400,000 followers. Did the gummy just add like 300K to this account? Like what? Like I'm looking at it. I'm playing Call of Duty with my buddies. I'm like, Luka got traded. Can someone look? Can someone check this for me? Because I might just be gone. I might be in another universe at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's wild there that just these things happen so randomly, and like it just kills your season, right? Like it just kills your motivation for the season. Like if I'm the crew, like I feel you, man. I 100% feel you. And again, it hurts worse. The Cincinnati knew, like if you don't want a guy that doesn't want to be on your team, get them the hell out of here. But when you got a guy that just says, "I live and breathe Columbus," and then he goes, and and you don't know. But you assume, especially just with what you know about the player, that all you had to do was just open your checkbook to the guy. Yes. That's what stinks. And that's what gets, fans, they didn't protest out the crew, outside the crew stadium. But Jimmy Haslam had to deal with them protesting outside the Brown Stadium that same exact day because Myles Garrett wanted out. But, I mean, that's what's frustrating for me. I'm cool with it being a selling league. I'm cool with it. If you want to retire here and that's how you want to build your team, that's cool. But the guys that want to be here, MLS owners need to start paying up.
Absolutely.
And real quick, we can end it with the West Coast talk real quick. Ramirez left Columbus, went to the Galaxy. I thought the Galaxy were going to take a huge step back with the loss of Ricky Puig. Now, Ramirez is no Ricky Puig, but I think that does help because kind of like Columbus, when him, Rossi, and Cucho were like interchangeable in the top 3. I think that they'll be doing the same thing with Peck, Pencil, and Ramirez. I think that the Galaxy are going to be okay, right? Maybe they won't be top of the West, maybe, I don't know, but I think they're going to be okay. LAFC, I feel like losing Bogusz is going to be a huge loss for them. I feel like he was one of the better players last year. I feel like they're kind of camping out for Griezmann in the summertime. In the West Coast, what do you think? Seattle's still looking good. They have the best defense in the West. They got Jesus Ferreira. And before you guys tell me, just a quick for anybody, for people that are watching right now, next week we're going to do, I know all the MLS shows do season previews. We're going to be doing them, but we're going to be doing them in 3 nights. 3 nights, 29 teams. It's going to be quick hitters. We're going to have Tommy's going to be on for Atlanta, and we're going to have 8 other MLS content creators outside of Tommy talking about their teams for 15 to 20 minutes. And it's going to be like a little marathon, 3-day marathon, talking about all MLS teams. So if you want to get your MLS fix and find out a little bit about each team, go for it. And we will be doing all of those.
Yeah, Omer.
Yes, I said 28 because Tommy would be 29 and we would be 30 because we're into Miami. But yes, it's 30 teams.
Get pumped, man. This is it. Like, you got, like, all the kits are officially getting released next week, right? Even though it's stupid, a week before the season. Screw you, MLS. Like, you want people wearing those kits to your home openers, and you can't. I don't know why they're waiting
so long. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the most exciting time of the year. It's just getting ready, unless you're a Columbus fan, right? I mean, other than that, like, you're pumped.
Yeah. And you know how embarrassing it is that as a Columbus fan, when the Inter Miami comes into town, you're not even going to be able to watch them in Columbus. You got to go to Cleveland, no?
I told you guys to come visit.
I mean, look at that. It's a disaster.
And that's another thing. I mean, that's a huge thing that they're upset about, right? And now And now, if they don't bring in players, right? I don't know. I think the game's in May.
It's in April. It's in April. Now, if I was a Columbus fan and they don't have a good product on the pitch, why would I pay money to travel to Cleveland to watch my team possibly get their ass kicked because I don't have a good team on the pitch? Like that's rough. That is rough.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, at
So
that
what's your
point,
question
the
about
whole
the
fan
West?
base needs to revolt.
Any team that you're looking at, like, okay, this team could, because again, I thought the Galaxy would take a step back. Nope, doesn't look like it. Seattle with Jesus Ferreira trying to step up their offensive game because they were dreadful in the attack. Anybody in the West that you think, oh, well, maybe they could do something?
Well, I'd like to start, like I mentioned earlier, with San Jose. They ended up getting Chicho Arango. They were pretty low in the league. I think if they weren't in last, they were in second to last.
No, they won the Wooden Spoon.
Yeah, and they acquired Joseph Martinez that looks happier than ever. Never seen him
just
this
spent
happy.
the year in Montreal, man. Of course.
Yeah, and so I mean,
Single-handedly got them in the playoffs too. I mean, he was the
Yes.
reason why they made the playoffs.
absolutely, and
Didn't
they
make the
made
playoffs.
Yeah, they did.
What?
Yeah, they ended up
They
making
made the playing
playoffs.
game.
Montreal, they made the
Playing
whatever.
in the playoffs. No, that's not the
Hey,
playoffs.
you know what? I'm in the same boat. I didn't call that game the playoffs, whatever you want to call it, but they made the playing game, right? Like,
Danny is disrespectful.
hey, whatever. I'll take that argument. I actually said the same thing. I don't count the playing game as the playoffs. I'm not gonna argue with him.
There you go.
But no, I mean, like he got on fire at the end of the year, and he was the reason why they got where they did. And still, he scored 2 goals against Atlanta in that game. They lost in penalties. But no, I'm excited. Like that is an exciting team, right? Like you always think San Jose and just go, whatever. Like I'm not gonna stay up on a Saturday night to watch San Jose, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like staying up and watching Vancouver. Who the hell stays up and watches Vancouver all night?
Bruce Arena.
Whatever, man.
No, man.
It's gonna be.
He makes things happen wherever he goes.
It's gonna be a good year for them.
But it will be fun to watch San Jose. It will. I mean, they should become a must-watch team. I mean, I think they were in the same boat. I mean, a lot of goals allowed. I mean, they were 41 goals scored. Wasn't the worst, but 78 goals allowed. I mean, that was worse than New England. Yeah.
Well, they brought in a couple
to the record.
Yeah, they brought in a couple other players, a couple defenders, so that's going to help. But
And make sure that you tune in. I believe that's on February 11th, Tuesday night at 10:40 p.m. maybe, that we're doing the San Jose preview. So again, we're gonna knock out all the teams. If you want to find out about players in and out and what they needed to fix, we got to show that. And then after the Galaxy saying LAFC will have another good run. Man, I don't know, man. They're losing and they're not gaining. They lost Omar Campos, they lost Bogusz, and they're gonna get Griezmann in the summer possibly, but gotta wait for that to happen. And Giroud hasn't looked necessarily great.
How many goals did he score? I know he scored in the League's Cup final.
The thing is, I don't know how many he scored. I have to look that up. But they didn't play to his strength, right? He works off a service, and that's not how they played. And they need to change things up. And I thought that's what they would be doing in this window. I don't feel like they have, but they're saving everything for Griezmann in the summer. I don't know if after Galaxy is going to correct me, and maybe he feels like they're not. But I think that they are going to be kind of getting ready for the summer.
I can't see them going bad. I just can't.
Missing dark horse team in the West, Austin FC.
When Brandon Vasquez got there, I thought maybe, but when Drusy left, I was maybe. All right, and I think that. Do you guys have anything else that you want to touch on?
Drusy was kind of overrated last year. Like, get out of here.
He was unhappy.
Yeah.
He wanted that out. And by the way, for a lot of people were criticizing the Inter Miami kit because they said that the stripes were like Argentina thing.
Yeah.
It's one of the base templates for some of the MLS kits this year. It's not just Inter Miami. Now that you brought up Austin. Austin also has the same exact kit, just in 2 different shades of green. So I'm not sure which other teams are going to have it, but you know how the MLS is very boring since they're all Adidas, and they have like 2 or 3 templates that all the teams share. That striped kit is also going to be shared by some other teams, Austin FC being one of them. So I know that because we've been creating shirts on Battered Fans for all the MLS teams. So we kind of took a look at the kits, the logos, and as it turns out, a few of those have those kits.
Mike V's trying to double up his money here, Tommy, saying if you had $100 to bet on 2 teams in the MLS final, who are they?
I'll stick to us friends here, right? I would put it on Miami and Atlanta.
Okay. Now, what team in the West?
Seattle.
I'm going to go Seattle. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go Seattle also.
I'm sure the odds are pretty good because, like, you look at the odds for MLS and they're always so ridiculous. Like they don't know what they're doing with MLS. Like if you know MLS, you can make a lot of money on gambling with them. They just have no idea what they're doing.
I agree. And last year in the summertime, I called Seattle in the Western Conference Finals, and they made it. I said LA Galaxy and LAFC are not going to play each other in the Western Conference Finals. I wasn't sure who was going to get eliminated before then, but I knew Seattle. Seattle's just that team that's always there, kind of like the Ravens and Steelers in the NFL, and just those teams that just one way or another they managed to just be consistent, and that's Seattle. So
it would be cool to see Atlanta, Miami in the conference finals next season. I think it very well could happen. I think they're both going to be. Sure. Atlanta's been saying they want to be in top 4 of the table for the past few years since this playoff format has. But I think this is the chance where they really have an opportunity to do that. They've got defensively they're solid, and then with their offense they should be, like I said, top 5. So I'm pumped for it. And people keep asking me if I like the new coach, Ronnie Dela. I like him. And I like how he celebrates, right? Just takes all his clothes off after he wins MLS Cup. Like, the dude knows how to party. So hopefully I'll be at the Benz watching him strip down and do push-ups in the middle of there. It's turf. Be careful, Ronnie. Be careful. You can't do push-ups on turf without clothes on. You might tear something.
Well, I will tell you that he had one of my favorite quotes where he said that he'd rather win 5-4 than 1-0. So
Atlanta fans love that shit because Frank DeBoer was like, "I want to win 1-0 every week."
No. So that's going to be fun to watch. I love a coach that wants to score. Inter Miami doesn't know what to expect from Mascherano, so we don't. Who knows? But Atlanta is going to be an exciting team to watch as far as the coach. And then thank you. I'm actually going to cut it soon, but thank you for that. It's getting a little out of hand. All right, Tommy, thank you for joining. Oh, before I do, again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Starting Monday night, we're going to have our first preview. It's going to be San Diego, just them, 11 o'clock at night on Monday. And then starting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're going to have 9 to 10 teams every night, just running through them. So make sure that you subscribe. You can check them out live or check them out afterwards. Tommy, let everybody know where they can find you, sir.
Scarves and Spikes. Find us at Scarves and Spikes. We're doing some different things this year, but Spaces, if you want to come listen to when you guys play Miami, you guys want to jump on and talk about the game, hop on. I'm always running it. You can talk about it. We do a recap show on Sundays. We do an MLS show. I know we copied you guys, but I mean, we do an MLS show on Mondays. And then on Wednesdays, we talk about the game coming up for the week. So come hang out. And a lot of you guys already come in here and hang out with us. And I truly appreciate it. This is the second funnest group. I love the Scarves and Spikes group to jump on here. But hopping on Battered Herons and Battered MLS, you guys know how to party for sure. And it's fun as hell. So, and you guys are my friends. So I love it.
And I feel bad saying this after you said all those nice things, but Tommy,
what the fuck are you going to say to me now?
With a fork and knife. So just take that for a grain of salt because he doesn't know how to party.
Not messy. Well, messy pizza. Messy pizza. Fuck you. No, I'll eat it if it's not, sliming all over the place and I have a dress shirt on.
This is true. You were very well dressed. That's for sure.
Thanks, baby.
Mr. Krabs keeps asking, when is Chris going to start Battered Scarves and Spikes? Since when has there been discussion to start a Battered Scarves and Spikes? And why am I the leader in this starting of the Battered Scarves and Spikes, Mr. Krabs? It's the crabs, man. And Dennis Sopa says he likes yours, but you're still a massive jinx.
And look, we said that he's Peruvian, and he still thinks that you eating a pizza with a fork and knife is absolutely ludicrous. Oh, ludicrous, Atlanta. There you go.
Uda.
All right, Chris. Any final words?
No, man, it was fun talking MLS, and next week it's gonna be amazing. Let's get it.
And then real quick, somebody. I'm confused with his Brooklyn hat. Unfortunately, I was originally from New York, so I grew up with being a New York sports fan. I did not follow the MLS until I was already living in Miami, so didn't choose a New York MLS team. I originally supported NYCFC until Inter Miami came about, but that's why you'll notice. Well, if there was a wider angle, there's a lot of Jets and Yankee stuff around here, but Inter Miami is my MLS team, football team in general. Tommy, do you eat your Spears with a fork and knife?
No, I have a legit fear of peanut butter and peanuts. I can't touch it. I can't be. I'm not allergic, okay? But real quick, in kindergarten, Brenda Bistak, that was her name, redhead. I got the first day of kindergarten. I got sent to the principal's office because we were kissing in the girls' bathroom. Look, I don't want to say I was a pimp in kindergarten, but I was in kindergarten. We this was my girlfriend in kindergarten.
Where's the peanut butter coming from?
Let me fucking get to it. All right, so. She gave me an M&M. Now, I really, my parents didn't like peanut butter. They didn't
is it like literally M&M, or is that like a?
We just didn't eat any peanut butter. That was no one ate peanut butter. So she gives me an M&M. Now, I loved, normal M&Ms. She gave me this M&M, and this was like the first time I really had like a peanut.
Oh, it's a real M&M. I thought it was like code word.
No, it was like an M&M, but it was a peanut M&M, and I got RKO'd with this peanut butter in my mouth, or this peanut in my mouth, and I went to the garbage and I just threw up everywhere. So I'm the kid the first day that was kissing a girl in the bathroom, and then also throwing up at lunch in the middle of the lunchroom because I ate this damn peanut, and that peanut butter, the peanut just never got out of my mouth. I just tasted it for weeks. So like when the kids, if you got kids or you're a monster and you leave all that peanut butter in the on the knife and don't wash it off there, I get sick even just looking at it. Or like my kid, he's like a monster, makes bagels and puts like 13 layers of peanut butter on it. Get the hell away from me. Like, you're not my son anymore. Go away. I don't want to be near you and this peanuts. Way more than we ever wanted to talk about. True story. My wife is Brenda Bistak. That's amazing if it is true. That's comment of the night. Thank you. It's amazing. But yeah, so that's my story on peanut butter. So like literally, there's like times where I'm at parties and my friends will have a butter knife with fucking peanut butter on it, and they're chasing me around the house with peanut butter, and like I turn into the Flash. I am the fastest person alive.
Assault and buttery.
Chris, I am going to make it my mission. That was good.
Are you going to come to Cleveland now for the game?
I am going to make it my mission to find Brenda Bistak.
Oh, don't do that. Let's not creep her out.
Absolutely. And I hope that
it's probably a Nashville SC fan. I tell the story to everybody. It's wild. But yeah, it was a traumatizing time for me. So yeah, I can't eat any, like when you go to Christmas and they got all those cookies out, right? Like I want to bring a magnifying glass to that to like put in the cookies. I'll find like, who made those cookies over there? And they're like, oh, like so-and-so did. I go over there and I'm like asking them a million questions. I'm like, are you sure there's no peanuts in this cookie? Because I love chocolate chip cookies, but if there's one damn peanut in this thing, we're going to have some issues.
So you can't even do Reese's you can't do Reese's peanut butter cups.
Oh, dude,
that's my favorite chocolate of all time.
Plain Hershey's, Hershey Kisses, and plain M&Ms.
What? Who does that? Out of choice?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is why people come to Battered MLS, or this is why people don't come to Battered MLS shows. I apologize ahead of time, everybody.
Look at this guy. He sounds like he jumped on the Messi bandwagon.
I am uncomfortable talking about this. I just get sick just thinking about it.
Well, I think Reese's peanut butter cups are nasty also. So I'm with you on that
Yeah,
one.
you're terrible. You're not even
What's the best chocolate? Candy bar.
Reese's candy bar.
Your number one?
Well, Reese's cups are the greatest chocolate of all time. I don't even know what we're talking about here.
Wow, really?
Like of all time. I don't like there's
that's
there's no
nasty.
discussion.
That's nasty.
If you're talking about the like chocolate bar, I'll tell you Snickers is probably the best chocolate bar.
Twix.
That Twix is super overrated, dude.
No, it's Twix. Maybe Kit Kats. Kit Kats are good with the wafer.
The other thing about Brenda is I brought my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man stuffed animal to school that day. You were supposed to bring your stuffed animal. She brought a Slimer one. And then, yeah, you knew it was meant to be when you got two Ghostbusters stuffed animals. Well, no, dude, we're in kindergarten. Don't talk about that type of stuff.
I don't know. You said she M&M'd you or something. I don't know. All right. So I appreciate.
Don't even do the outro. Just hit
I
end.
appreciate you guys joining us for the last 55 minutes. BatterFans.com for some MLS merch. For those of you in the chat, you guys are the best part of the show. Appreciate you guys. And we'll be back starting next Monday night with the San Diego preview. And then we're going to go straight through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, knocking out all 30 other teams. So make sure that you join us for next week's late night marathon of previews. So until the next one, have a good one.
So you don't